I've been selling prints of my paintings full-time for the last 10 years, and as you can imagine, I have learned a whole lot along the way. So I want to share some of that with you here in this video. And specifically, I want to focus on limited edition prints, because when I first started out my business, I didn't know whether I should sell limited edition prints or open edition prints, and the whole thing was really confusing and kind of stressful to figure out, honestly. I had to do a lot of trial and error. And so I just wanted to share my experience so that way you can figure out what you need to do with your prints and what's best for you to sell without having to go through all of the work and trial and error that I did. And first off, if you're unfamiliar with what limited edition is versus open edition, it's very simple. Limited edition is you are limiting the number of prints you make of a particular painting, or you're limiting the number of prints that you make if it's an original print. Because you can have limited edition prints that are reproductions of a painting. You can also have limited edition prints that are original prints. Let's say you take photography or you make digital art. Those would be original limited edition prints. Or you could make them open edition prints. And so open edition is not limited. Open edition is you can make as many prints as you want forever. Now, in the mind of the buyer, this creates a little bit of scarcity if you have a limited edition, right? Because you can sell the person when they're coming into your art fair booth, or if they're looking at your website, you can say, hey, there are only 50 of these available. So if you want one, you better act now because they might not be available next month or next year, that kind of thing. But if they are open edition, you can't have that scarcity trigger when it comes to trying to get a person to buy. Now, you can create scarcity of open edition prints in other ways. You can make them on sale for a limited time, and that could create scarcity when it comes to saving money. And that's kind of what I do. Because not to give a total spoiler, but now in my career, I don't sell limited edition prints. I sell open edition prints because limited edition prints, although there are some benefits, like the level of scarcity that you can have with them, there are a lot of negatives. Once you decide to do a limited edition print of a painting, you can never change it to open edition. Well, if you want to be ethical about it, that is. I have seen some people say they're creating a first edition print and then create an open edition later, but I don't know how ethical that is. I mean, if I was the customer and I bought a print that they told me was limited edition, and then next year I saw them come out with an open edition print run of it, I would feel like I got taken advantage of, to be honest. And so I don't want to do that to my customers, and I wouldn't suggest for you to do that to your customers either. That's why I think it's important to decide right at the beginning of making prints of a painting, do you want them to be limited, or do you want to make as many of them as you want forever? The first downside is either the bookkeeping or the storage, because you can go both ways with this, and I'm going to explain. So you can either print your entire edition. I did this on one particular print. I made 250 prints because I was going to have an edition of 250. So I went ahead and just signed and numbered all of them, and I was able to store them in a flat box, so that way I could keep track of it and I would have them in there and I could just pull them out whenever I wanted to sell them. Now, this obviously was a really poor decision for me in the very beginning of my career, but I didn't know what I was doing. You don't want to make an entire edition like that right off the bat, because if you do and you don't sell them, which was the case with me, I didn't sell hardly any of them, you are stuck with them. So you have to figure out either if you're going to just eventually throw them away or if you're going to sell them at an extreme discount. But ultimately, it didn't help me at all to print them all up front. And so after that, I realized that what I needed to do was just print them as I sold them, and then just sign and number them as I needed to every time I printed them. But the problem that comes along with this is the bookkeeping. And I hate bookkeeping. I hate being this organized. I mean, I am kind of an organized person. I have to be to do my business, but I hate having to be that organized. You have to keep a notepad document or an Excel file of all of the paintings that you're making prints of, and then where you're at in the printing and signing of the edition. So that way you can print them just as you need them. But sometimes you might be at 28 of 50 if you're making an edition of 50 on one painting, but 32 of 50 on another. And the important thing is that you cannot accidentally number the same print twice. So you can't sell two prints that were 28 of 30. They need to all be labeled the exact right numbers on your edition. And if you mess it up, you either have to erase the number off of there, or you just have to trash the print, throw it away, and make a new one. And I had this happen to me several times. I accidentally wrote down the wrong number number on the print, and then I had to just tear up the print and throw it away, because if you're making a limited edition, you're not allowed to sell the open edition prints of it, right? So if you mess up on the signature on one or mess up on the number, you have to just throw it away and make a new one. And this can waste materials. But for me, the biggest thing was the bookkeeping, because I don't like keeping track of all that stuff. And surprisingly, another thing I figured out was that the scarcity aspect of the limited edition print did not help me sell my prints any faster than having them be open edition. And so from that standpoint, if I wasn't going to be able to sell them easier, then why would I want to go through all of that work to sign them and mess up on the numbers sometimes and have to throw away prints and have to do the bookkeeping or have to store all the prints if I made them all at once? It was just a lot to go through. Another thing that I didn't like about selling limited edition prints is the perceived value in the customer's eyes of this limited edition giclée reproduction of a painting. They think it's worth money from a collecting standpoint, and it isn't. All of the experts who appraise artwork and sell these things at like auctions like Christie's or Butterfield's, all the auction houses that sell fine art, the appraisers, they say that giclée prints that are reproductions of paintings are worthless. They're only worth what it is to the customer to be able to enjoy it and hang it on their wall. And so from my standpoint, I felt a little bit sketchy about selling limited edition prints to customers when they really weren't worth any more than an open edition print. I'm not going to call out any particular artists here, but I have overheard artists at art fairs claiming that their giclée prints of their paintings were worth so much. They were collector's items, and they really were trying to sell it as though they were a valuable thing for a person to collect. And I just don't feel right about that. If the experts at appraising artwork say they're worth nothing, then for me, I just don't feel good about selling that to customers, because I know customers are thinking that if it's limited edition, they might want to collect it. And yeah, I mean, it is scarce, right? There's fewer of them created. But if they're both worth the same amount of money, nothing, right? Then, I mean, why do it? So for me, this is the last thing that kind of tipped me over the edge for not selling limited edition. And so all of my paintings now I sell as open edition prints. And I love doing that, because then customers can always get them. And when I want to create scarcity, I just create a coupon code or a sale that's only for one weekend. And that creates scarcity. And honestly, it creates a better sales experience, and people want to buy my work more when I put it on sale than if it were limited edition and cost a little bit more money because it's limited edition. Because that's the other thing. If you're limiting the number that you make, you need to charge a little more for them if you want to make the same amount of money as you would off of an open edition print. But with open edition, you can just print them forever, so you can afford to sell them for a little less. And customers like to be able to save money. That's my experience anyway. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it though. Do you think it's better to sell limited edition or open edition prints? And what's your experience? All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.